The arrival. The Galactic Federation Academy for Interstellar Defense loomed before Zara Chen, its crystalline spires stretching impossibly high into the violet sky of Nexus Prime. Zara took a deep breath, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She was about to become the first human to attend this prestigious institution, a testament to humanity's recent inclusion in the Galactic Federation. As she approached the towering gates, Zora couldn't help but feel like an ant next to the massive alien structures. The academy was designed to accommodate species from across the galaxy, many of which dwarfed humans in size. She straightened her back, determined not to let her comparatively small stature diminish her confidence. "Identification, please," chirped a holographic interface that materialized before her. Zara held up her newly issued Federation ID, trying to keep her hand steady as the blue light scanned it. "Welcome, Cadet Zara Chen of Earth. Please proceed to the orientation hall," the interface instructed before disappearing. As Zara stepped through the gates, she found herself in a bustling courtyard, filled with a dizzying array of alien life forms. Towering, four-armed quasars lumbered past delicate, floating aetheri. Scaled draconians conversed with gelatinous blob entities. The cacophony of different languages, translated through her earpiece, was overwhelming. Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. Zara realized with a start that many eyes, and other sensory organs, were now fixed on her. She heard whispers, some curious, others dismissive. "Is that a human? They let a Deathworlder in. How quaint. I didn't think they were advanced enough for the academy." Zara clenched her jaw, fighting the urge to respond. She'd been prepared for this. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, and their homeworld, Earth, was classified as a Deathworld, a planet so fraught with danger that it was almost uninhabitable by galactic standards. Many species viewed humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. As she made her way towards the orientation hall, a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin stepped into her path. Zara recognized the species as an Elysian, known for their beauty and grace. "Excuse me," the Elysian said, its melodious voice tinged with concern. "I believe you may be lost. This is the Galactic Federation Academy. Perhaps you meant to go to the civilian sector." Zara met the alien's gaze steadily. "No, I'm in the right place. Cadet Zara Chen, reporting for orientation." The Elysian's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, I see. My apologies. It's just, we've never had someone like you here before. There's a first time for everything," Zara replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She stepped around the flustered Elysian and continued on her way. The orientation hall was a vast amphitheater, filled with thousands of new cadets from across the galaxy. Zara found a seat near the back, acutely aware of the empty spaces left on either side of her. As she waited for the proceedings to begin, she overheard snippets of conversation from nearby aliens. "I heard their planet has areas of such extreme temperature that it can melt exoskeletons. Apparently, they have microorganisms living inside them. Parasites, can you imagine? My cousin visited Earth once, said the gravity nearly crushed him. How do they even move?" Zara bit her tongue, reminding herself that engagement wasn't always the best course of action. She was here to learn, to prove herself, and to pave the way for future human cadets. She couldn't let every misconception or snide comment get under her skin. The lights dimmed, and a holographic image of a stern-looking Arcturian appeared at the center of the amphitheater. Admiral Zondar, the Academy's commandant, was a legend throughout the Federation. His deep, resonant voice filled the hall. "Welcome, cadets, to the Galactic Federation Academy for Interstellar Defense. You represent the finest young minds from across our vast Federation. Here, you will be forged into the defenders of peace, the protectors of our shared cosmic heritage." As the Admiral continued his speech, Zara felt a surge of pride. Despite the challenges, despite the skepticism of those around her, she was here. She had earned her place. This year, Admiral Zondar continued, "We are pleased to welcome our first cadet from Earth, demonstrating the Federation's commitment to diversity and inclusion." A spotlight suddenly illuminated Zara, causing her to squint. The entire amphitheater turned to look at her, a sea of alien faces filled with curiosity, skepticism, and in some cases, outright hostility. "Cadet Chen," the Admiral addressed her directly, "your presence here is a testament to your species' resilience and determination. We look forward to seeing how you adapt to the challenges that lie ahead." Zara stood and saluted crisply, her voice ringing out clear and confident. "Thank you, Admiral. I'm honored to represent Earth and humanity. I won't let you down." As she sat back down, the whispers around her intensified. Some seemed impressed by her composure, while others scoffed at what they perceived as bravado. The orientation continued, outlining the rigorous training regimen and academic coursework that lay ahead. Zara listened intently, making mental notes and already strategizing how to overcome the physical and intellectual challenges designed for a myriad of alien physiologies. As the session concluded and cadets began to file out, Zara overheard a gruff voice behind her. 10 credits, says the human washes out within a week." Another voice, higher pitched and excited, responded, "I'll take that bet." Did you see the look in its eyes? I think this one might surprise us. Zara allowed herself a small smile as she stood up. Let them underestimate her. She'd show them what a human, what a Deathworlder, was truly capable of. As she exited the orientation hall, Zara's path was suddenly blocked by a massive reptilian creature. The Draconian towered over her, its scales shimmering with an oily iridescence. "So," it rumbled, its voice like gravel, "you're the human everyone's talking about. I am Crix Tor. I'll be watching you closely, little Deathworlder. This academy has standards to maintain." Zara met the Draconian's gaze unflinchingly. "I look forward to exceeding those standards, Crix Tor. May the best cadet win." For a moment, tension crackled between them. Then, surprisingly, Crix Tor's mouth curled into what might have been a smile. "We shall see, human. We shall see." As Crix Tor moved away, Zara took a deep breath. This was just the beginning. The real challenges lay ahead. But she was ready. She was humanity's ambassador, their trailblazer, and she would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. With determination in her step, Zara Chen headed towards her assigned quarters, ready to face whatever the Galactic Federation Academy had in store for her. The adventure had only just begun. The challenge. 2 weeks into her tenure at the Galactic Federation Academy, Zara Chen found herself standing at the entrance of the infamous Crucible, a state-of-the-art combat simulation chamber designed to push cadets to their absolute limits. The air was thick with tension as alien cadets of various species gathered, their expressions a mix of excitement and trepidation. Zara rolled her shoulders, trying to loosen the knots of anxiety forming there. She'd heard whispers about the Crucible, how it had broken even the toughest recruits. Some said it could simulate the harshest environments from across the galaxy. Others claimed it could read your deepest fears and bring them to life. Whatever the truth, Zara knew this was her chance to prove herself. Cadets. The booming voice of Instructor Vexlor, a towering Zenithian with 4 arms and skin like polished obsidian, cut through the chatter. Today, you face the Crucible. It will test not just your physical prowess, but your mental fortitude and adaptability. Remember, in real combat, there are no second chances. His eyes swept across the gathered cadets, lingering for a moment on Zara. Some of you may think you're prepared. You're not. The Crucible knows you better than you know yourselves. A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the group. Zara remained silent, her face a mask of determination. "You will enter in teams of 4, Vexlor continued. "Your objective is simple: survive and reach the extraction point. How you do that is up to you." As Vexlor began calling out team assignments, Zara found herself grouped with Crix Tor, the Draconian she'd encountered on her first day. Azura, an Ethery whose translucent body seemed to shimmer with contained energy, and Grax, a stocky Quatsar whose forearms ended in wickedly sharp claws. Krixtor's eyes narrowed as he looked down at Zara. "Try not to slow us down, human. I won't jeopardize my performance to babysit you." Zara met his gaze coolly. "I can hold my own, Krixtor. Let's focus on working as a team." Azira floated closer, her voice a melodious whisper. "I've heard stories about human adaptability. Perhaps it will serve us well in there." Grax simply grunted, his attention focused on the entrance to the crucible. As their team number was called, they stepped forward. The massive doors of the crucible slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a swirling vortex of energy. Zara took a deep breath, centering herself. This was what she had trained for. "Begin." Vexlor's voice echoed as the team stepped into the unknown. The world shifted and blurred around them. When Zora's vision cleared, she found herself in a dense, steaming jungle. The air was thick and humid, pressing down on her like a physical weight. Strange, bioluminescent plants pulsed with an eerie light, casting shifting shadows all around them. "Nexu Prime," Krixtor hissed, his scales bristling. "A death world known for its carnivorous flora and deadly predators. Stay alert." Zara's mind raced, recalling everything she'd learned about hostile alien environments. "We should find high ground," she suggested. "Get a better view of our surroundings and plot a course to the extraction point." Grax nodded approvingly. The human speaks sense. "There," he pointed with one of his upper arms to a rocky outcropping in the distance. "That should provide a vantage point." As they began to move, Zora noticed Azira struggling. The Ethery's ethereal form seemed to be condensing in the humid air, weighing her down. Without hesitation, Zara removed her outer jacket and draped it over Azira, creating a barrier between her and the moisture-laden atmosphere. "Thank you." Azira breathed, her form stabilizing somewhat. I've never experienced an environment like this." Krixtor watched the interaction with a mixture of surprise and grudging respect. "Clever," he admitted, "but we need to move faster. Those lights in the undergrowth, they're getting closer." Zara's instincts screamed danger. The pulsing bioluminescence was indeed converging on their position, the jungle coming alive around them. Suddenly, a vine-like tendril whipped out, wrapping around Grax's leg. The Quatsar roared in pain as acidic secretions began to eat through his protective suit. Without hesitation, Zara leaped into action. She pulled a vibro knife from her belt and slashed at the vine, severing it. "Run," she yelled, helping Grax to his feet. The team sprinted towards the rocky outcropping, the jungle seeming to come alive behind them with snapping jaws and grasping tendrils. As they reached the base of the rock formation, Krixtor turned, his chest expanding. With a deafening roar, he exhaled a gout of flame, creating a temporary barrier between them and their pursuers. "Climb," he ordered, already beginning to scale the rocks. Zara helped boost Azira up, then began her own ascent. The rocks were slick with some kind of bioluminescent slime, making each handhold treacherous. Her muscles strained as she pulled herself up, acutely aware of the sounds of pursuit below. Halfway up, a section of rock gave way under Zora's hand. She felt herself falling, the ground rushing up to meet her. In that moment, time seemed to slow. She saw Krixtor's eyes widen in alarm, Azira's ethereal form reaching out uselessly, Grax too far to help. But Zara wasn't done yet. With a burst of adrenaline, she twisted in midair, her hand shooting out to grab a protruding root. Pain lanced through her shoulder as she jerked to a stop, but she held on. Using the momentum of her swing, she launched herself back towards the rock face, her fingers finding purchase once more. "Impossible," Krixtor muttered as Zara rejoined them at the top, breathing heavily but otherwise unharmed. "Not impossible," Zara panted, "just human." From their vantage point, they could see the extraction point, a shimmering energy field about 2 kilometers away. Between them and safety lay a nightmarish landscape of carnivorous plants and lurking predators. "We'll never make it through that on foot," Grax growled, nursing his acid-burned leg. Zara's eyes scanned the jungle, her mind racing. Then she saw it, a network of thick vines stretching between the taller trees, forming a canopy above the danger zone. "We don't have to go through," she said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "We can go over." Crix Tor followed her gaze, understanding dawning in his reptilian eyes. "You're suggesting we swing through the treetops? Like primitive apes?" Zara's smile widened. "Sometimes, Crix Tor, the old ways are the best ways. Besides, isn't that what you all think of us humans anyway? Might as well use it to our advantage." Azira's form pulsed with excitement. "It's brilliant. The predators below won't expect an aerial assault." Grax looked skeptical, but nodded. "It's better than becoming plant food. Lead on, human." As they prepared to embark on their perilous journey through the treetops, Zora couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. She was not just surviving the crucible. She was thriving, using the very adaptability and resourcefulness that had allowed humanity to conquer their own death world. With a deep breath, Zora grabbed the first vine. "Follow my lead," she called out, and swung out over the deadly jungle below. As she soared through the air, the rush of wind in her ears, she felt truly alive. This was what she was made for. Behind her, her alien teammates watched in awe before following suit. Together, they began their daring traverse towards the extraction point, a team united by the challenges of the crucible and the surprising leadership of the human they had once underestimated. As they swung from vine to vine, narrowly avoiding snapping jaws and grasping tendrils from below, Zara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She had come to the Galactic Federation Academy to prove that humans belonged among the stars. Now, as she led her team through one of the most challenging simulations the Academy had to offer, she realized she was doing much more than that. She was showing the galaxy that humanity didn't just belong, they could excel. The extraction point grew closer with each swing. Zara's muscles burned, her palms raw from the rough vines, but her spirit soared. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready. The crucible had tried to break her, but instead, it had forged her into something stronger. As they neared their goal, Zora caught Crix Tor's eye. The Draconian gave her a nod of respect, a silent acknowledgement of her leadership and ingenuity. In that moment, Zara knew she had not just survived the crucible, she had conquered it. And this was only the beginning. Unexpected allies. In the days following their triumph in the crucible, Zara found herself at the center of attention at the Galactic Federation Academy. Word of her innovative leadership and physical prowess had spread quickly, earning her grudging respect from some and outright admiration from others. However, not everyone was pleased with the human's rising star. Zara sat alone in the Academy's vast dining hall, her tray laden with a carefully selected assortment of foods deemed safe for human consumption. As she ate, she couldn't help but notice the furtive glances and whispered conversations around her. Some were curious, others hostile, but none seemed willing to approach her directly. That is, until a familiar willowy figure gracefully sat down across from her. It was the Elysian she had encountered on her first day. "Greetings, Zara Chen of Earth," the Elysian said, its melodious voice tinged with a hint of embarrassment. "I am Lyra. I wish to apologize for our first encounter. My assumptions were unworthy of a cadet of this academy." Zara looked up, surprised by the gesture. "Thank you, Lyra. I appreciate that." Lyra's iridescent skin shimmered with what Zara had come to recognize as an Elysian blush. "Your performance in the Crucible was most impressive. Many of us have been discussing it. I was hoping, perhaps you could share some insights." Before Zara could respond, a shadow fell over their table. Crix Tor loomed over them, his reptilian features set in a scowl. But instead of the hostility Zara had come to expect, there was a glimmer of something else in his eyes. Respect, perhaps. Room for one more, he rumbled, not waiting for an answer before settling his massive frame next to Zara. Zara blinked in surprise. Of course, she said, shifting to make room. I didn't expect to see you here, Krixtor. The Draconian snorted, a small puff of smoke escaping his nostrils. Yes, well, it seems I may have misjudged you, human. Your actions in the Crucible were adequate. Coming from Krixtor, this was high praise indeed. Zara felt a warmth spreading in her chest. These weren't just classmates being polite. These were the beginnings of real connections. As they ate and talked, more cadets began to drift towards their table. Azira, the Aetheri, floated over, her ethereal form pulsing with excitement. Grax, the Quatsar, lumbered up, still favoring his healed leg, but nodding respectfully to Zora. Even a few species Zora hadn't interacted with before joined them. Drawn by the unusual gathering, the conversation flowed freely, touching on topics from combat tactics to the cultural peculiarities of their various homeworlds. Zara found herself peppered with questions about Earth, its varied environments, and how humans had managed to not just survive, but thrive on such a dangerous planet. Is it true that you have creatures on Earth that can regenerate lost limbs? Asked a fascinated Sorglax, its gelatinous form quivering with curiosity. Zora nodded, warming to the subject. Yes, some species can. Axolotls, for example, can regrow not just limbs, but parts of their organs and even portions of their brain. A collective gasp went around the table. Krixtor's eyes narrowed. And humans cannot do this. No, Zora laughed, but we've learned a lot from studying these creatures. Our medical technology has advanced significantly because of it. As the conversation continued, Zora began to realize something profound. These aliens, so different from her in appearance and background, were not so different in their curiosity, their desire to learn and grow. They were forming bonds, not just as fellow cadets, but as individuals fascinated by each other's uniqueness. However, their budding camaraderie was abruptly interrupted by a commotion at the far end of the dining hall. A group of cadets, led by a towering Vraxen with gleaming exoskeletal plates, was making its way towards their table. The Vraxen's mandibles clicked menacingly as it approached. Well, it chittered, its translator struggling to convey the disdain in its alien voice. If it isn't the famous human and her new fan club. Enjoying your moment of glory, Deathworlder. Zara felt her newfound friends tensing around her. Krixtor's scales bristled, a low growl emanating from his chest. But before anyone could react, Zara stood, facing the Vraxen calmly. I'm just enjoying a meal with my fellow cadets, discussing our shared experiences, she said evenly. Would you care to join us? I'm sure we could all benefit from your perspective as well. The Vraxen seemed taken aback by Zora's diplomatic response. It had clearly been spoiling for a fight, not an invitation to dinner. Its compound eyes flickered uncertainly between Zora and the diverse group gathered around her. You think you can just come here and change everything? The Vraxen sputtered, its bravado faltering. Humans don't belong here. You're too unpredictable, too dangerous. Lyra stood then, her willowy form surprisingly imposing as she faced the Vraxen. And yet, it was that very unpredictability that allowed our team to excel in the Crucible. Perhaps it is not the humans who need to change, but our perception of them. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathered cadets. The Vraxen's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. It was clearly losing control of the situation. Zara saw an opportunity to bridge the gap. You're right that humans can be unpredictable, she said softly. Our history is filled with both great achievements and terrible mistakes. But that's why we're here, isn't it? To learn from each other, to combine our strengths and overcome our weaknesses together. She extended her hand to the Vraxen, a universal gesture of peace. I don't expect you to like me or even trust me right away, but I hope you'll give all of us, a chance to prove that our differences can be our greatest asset. The dining hall had fallen silent. all eyes on the confrontation. For a long moment, the Vraxin stood motionless, its alien features unreadable. Then, slowly, it extended one of its upper limbs, grasping Zara's hand in a gesture that was both foreign and familiar. Perhaps I have been too hasty in my judgment," the Vraxin said, its voice softer now. "I am Zixtal. Your actions in the Crucible were intriguing. I would hear more of your strategies." As Zixtal and its group joined the table, the tension in the air dissipated, replaced by a buzz of excited conversation. Zara found herself at the center of a whirlwind of questions, discussions, and debates. But more than that, she was at the heart of something transformative. In that moment, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, Zara realized she had accomplished something far greater than just proving her worth as a cadet. She had taken the first steps towards true interspecies understanding and cooperation. As the night wore on, laughter and animated discussion filled the dining hall. Zara caught Krixtor's eye, and the Draconian gave her a small nod of approval. Lyra beamed at her, while Azura's ethereal form pulsed with joy. Even Grax, usually stoic, seemed to be enjoying himself, engaged in an arm-wrestling contest with one of Zixtal's companions. Zara smiled to herself. She had come to the Galactic Federation Academy to represent humanity, to prove that they belonged among the stars. But now she understood that her mission was far greater. She wasn't just representing humanity. She was helping to forge a new future for the entire galaxy. As she looked around at her new friends, her new family, Zara felt a surge of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she wouldn't face them alone. Together, they would learn, grow, and explore the vast potential of their combined strengths. The stars had never seemed brighter or more within reach. The revelation. As weeks turned into months at the Galactic Federation Academy, Zara found herself settling into a rhythm. The initial novelty of her presence had worn off, replaced by a growing acceptance and even admiration from many of her fellow cadets. Her circle of friends had expanded, forming a diverse group that represented a microcosm of the galaxy itself. However, the academy was far from a peaceful haven. As the cadets progressed in their training, the challenges became increasingly difficult, pushing them to their physical and mental limits. It was during one such grueling exercise that everything changed. The day started like any other, with Zara and her team preparing for a high-stakes simulation. This time, they were tasked with defending a mock Federation outpost from a simulated alien invasion. As they geared up in the prep room, tension hung heavy in the air. "Remember," Krixtor rumbled, his scales gleaming under the harsh lights, "we're the last line of defense. If we fall, the outpost falls." Zara nodded, double-checking her equipment. "We've trained for this. We're ready." Lyra, who had become a permanent member of their team, smiled nervously. "With Zora's strategies and your firepower, Krixtor, I believe we stand a good chance." As they entered the simulation chamber, the world around them shimmered and transformed. They found themselves on a rocky, windswept planet, a squat Federation outpost behind them, and a vast, alien landscape stretching out before them. In the distance, ominous shapes began to appear on the horizon. "Here they come," Grax growled, his forearms tensing as he gripped his weapons. The simulation began in earnest, waves of holographic enemies descending upon their position. Zara's mind raced as she coordinated their defense, using each team member's strengths to hold the line. Krixtor's fiery breath created barriers of flame, while Lyra's illusion abilities allowed her to predict enemy movements with uncanny accuracy. Grax and Azura formed a formidable duo, the Quatzar's brute strength complemented by the Ethery's swift, ethereal attacks. For a while, it seemed they might actually succeed in repelling the invasion. But as the simulation progressed, the attacks became more intense, more coordinated. Zara felt sweat beading on her forehead as she fought to keep up with the escalating threat. Suddenly, a piercing alarm cut through the chaos of battle. This wasn't part of the simulation. The holographic enemies flickered and vanished, leaving the team in stunned silence. "This is not a drill," Admiral Zondar's voice boomed through the facility. "All cadets report to emergency stations immediately. This is a Code Black scenario. I repeat, this is not a drill." Zara's blood ran cold. Code Black, the highest level of emergency. Something had gone catastrophically wrong. As they rushed out of the simulation chamber, they were met with scenes of confusion and panic. Cadets of all species were running through the corridors, some looking lost, others moving with grim determination. "What's happening?" Lyra asked, her usual melodious voice tight with fear. Before anyone could answer, a deafening explosion rocked the academy. The lights flickered, and for a moment, they were plunged into darkness. When emergency power kicked in, Zara saw something that made her heart stop. Through a shattered window, she could see ships, real ships, not simulations, descending from the sky. They were like nothing she had ever seen before, organic and mechanical at the same time, pulsing with an eerie, otherworldly energy. By the cosmic void, Crixtor breathed, his usual bravado replaced by genuine fear. "It's the Void Collective. They found us." Zara had heard whispers about the Void Collective, a mysterious, hostile force from beyond the known galaxy. They were supposed to be theoretical, a bogeyman used to scare new recruits. But the terror in Crixtor's eyes told her this was all too real. "We need to get to the command center," Zara said, her voice steadier than she felt. "We can help coordinate the defense." As they made their way through the chaos, Zara's mind was racing. The Academy's defenses were formidable, but they were designed to repel known threats. If this truly was the Void Collective, they were facing an enemy beyond their experience or preparation. They arrived at the command center to find it in disarray. Admiral Zondar stood at the center, barking orders as holographic displays showed the unfolding invasion. When he saw Zara and her team, his eyes narrowed. "Cadets, this is no place for you. Get to the evacuation shuttles immediately." Zara stepped forward, her chin raised. "With all due respect, Admiral, we can help. We've trained for this." "You've trained for simulations, Cadet," Zondar snapped. "This is real. The Void Collective is unlike anything you've faced." Suddenly, one of the displays flickered and went dark. Then another and another. A chill ran down Zora's spine as she realized what was happening. "They're not just attacking physically," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're in our systems." Admiral Zondar's face paled. "Impossible. Our cybersecurity is impenetrable." But Zara was already moving, her fingers flying over a nearby console. Years of growing up in a world where technology was integrated into every aspect of life had given her an intuitive understanding of systems that many of her alien peers lacked. "They're using some kind of organic tech hybrid," she muttered, her eyes scanning lines of code faster than seemed possible. "It's adapting, evolving in real time." The room had fallen silent, all eyes on the human cadet who seemed to be the only one comprehending the true nature of the threat. Even Admiral Zondar watched in stunned silence as Zara's hands blurred over the controls. "There," she exclaimed. "I've isolated their infiltration point. If we can just—" Her voice trailed off as she became fully immersed in the digital battle. To the others in the room, it looked like an incomprehensible dance of light and code on the screens. But to Zara, it was a battlefield as real as any physical confrontation. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The sounds of battle outside grew louder, punctuated by explosions and the scream of energy weapons. But inside the command center, all attention was focused on the lone human fighting an unseen enemy. Finally, with a triumphant cry, Zara slammed her hand down on the console. The screens flickered, then came back to life, free of the strange, pulsing interference. "I've locked them out," she panted, sweat dripping from her brow. "At least for now. They'll try again, but I've built in adaptive algorithms that should keep them at bay long enough for us to mount a proper defense." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, questions, and exclamations overlapping. But Admiral Zondar's voice cut through the noise. "How?" he demanded, his eyes boring into Zara. "How did you do that?" Zara met his gaze steadily. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to think outside established parameters. We faced our own digital threats, our own evolving challenges. What you saw as impenetrable, I saw as a puzzle waiting to be solved." The Admiral was silent for a long moment, his alien features unreadable. Then, to everyone's shock, he nodded. "It seems we have underestimated you, Cadet Chen. And perhaps in doing so, we have underestimated humanity as a whole." He turned to the rest of the command center. "The Void Collective may have technologies beyond our understanding, but they've never faced a human before. Let's show them why that was a mistake." As the command center burst into renewed activity, plans being formulated and orders given, Zara felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Crix Tor, Lyra, Grax, and Azura standing behind her, their faces a mix of awe and determination. "Well, Deathworlder," Crix Tor rumbled, a hint of his old smirk returning. "It seems you've been holding out on us. What's our next move?" Zara looked around at her friends, at the diverse array of beings all united in the face of this unprecedented threat. She felt a surge of something powerful, not just pride or determination, but a sense of limitless potential. "Our next move," she said, her voice ringing with confidence, "is to show the Void Collective why the Galactic Federation is a force to be reckoned with. Not because of our advanced technology or our powerful weapons, but because of our diversity, our ability to come together and become more than the sum of our parts." As they turned to face the screens, the battle raging both in the physical and digital realms, Zara knew that this was more than just a fight for survival. It was a crucible, one that would forge a new understanding between humans and the rest of the galactic community. The Void Collective had made a grave miscalculation. They had attacked a school, thinking to find easy prey. Instead, they had awakened a force beyond their comprehension. The combined potential of the galaxy's greatest minds, united in purpose and led by the unpredictable ingenuity of humanity. The real battle was just beginning, and Zara Chen, the underestimated human from a death world, was ready to show the universe exactly what that meant. A new understanding. The battle against the Void Collective raged for days, pushing the Galactic Federation Academy and its inhabitants to their absolute limits. What had started as a normal training day had evolved into a crucible that would reshape the future of galactic relations. Zara Chen found herself at the heart of the defense efforts, her unique human perspective and adaptability proving invaluable in countering the Void Collective's ever-changing tactics. The command center had become her second home, screens and holograms flickering with constant updates as she coordinated with teams across the academy. "They're adapting again," Crix Tor growled, his scales gleaming with sweat as he pored over tactical displays. "Every time we push them back, they come at us with something new." Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the screens. "That's their strength, but it can also be their weakness. They're so focused on adapting that they're not considering that we might be leading them into a trap." Admiral Zondar, who had come to rely heavily on Zara's insights, leaned in. "What do you propose, Cadet Chen?" A small smile played on Zora's lips. "We give them exactly what they want, but on our terms. We create a vulnerability in our defenses, something too tempting for them to ignore. But when they commit to exploiting it, we spring the trap," Lyra finished, her ethereal form pulsing with excitement. The plan was risky, requiring perfect coordination between the Academy's diverse inhabitants. Each species had a role to play, their unique abilities and perspectives combining to create a defense greater than the sum of its parts. As the plan was set in motion, Zara couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion or disdain now worked in perfect harmony. The Void Collective, in its attempt to destroy them, had inadvertently forged them into something stronger. The final battle was a symphony of chaos and coordination. The Void Collective, sensing weakness, poured their forces into what they perceived as a gap in the Academy's defenses. But as they committed, the trap was sprung. Crix Tor led a team of Draconians in a ferocious counterattack, their fiery breath creating a wall of flame that cut off the Collective's retreat. Lyra and her fellow Elysians used their precognitive abilities to anticipate and counter the enemy's adaptive strategies. Grax and the Quatzers provided raw power, their four-armed forms wreaking havoc among the invaders. Azura and the Aetheri flowed through the battlefield like living mist, disrupting the Collective's organic tech interfaces. And at the center of it all was Zora, coordinating the defense with a level of intuition and adaptability that left even the Void Collective reeling. As the tide of battle turned, Zara felt a surge of pride. This wasn't just a victory for the Academy or even the Galactic Federation. It was a testament to what could be achieved when diverse species came together, combining their strengths and overcoming their differences. In the final moments of the conflict, as the last of the Void Collective's ships retreated into the depths of space, a cheer went up across the Academy. They had done it. Against all odds, they had repelled an invasion force that had threatened the very fabric of galactic society. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the full impact of what they had accomplished began to sink in, Zara found herself standing before the assembled leaders of the Galactic Federation. Admiral Zondar, his usually stern face now etched with respect, addressed the gathering. "What we have witnessed here," he began, his voice carrying across the hushed crowd, "is nothing short of extraordinary. We faced an enemy beyond our experience or preparation, an enemy that threatened not just this Academy, but our entire way of life." His eyes found Zora in the crowd. "And yet, we prevailed. Not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the power of our diversity, our ability to adapt and work together. And at the heart of this victory was a species many of us had underestimated: humanity." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Zora was beckoned forward. She stood tall, acutely aware of the eyes of the galaxy upon her. "Cadet Zara Chen," Admiral Zondar continued, "your actions during this crisis have demonstrated the true potential of humanity. Your adaptability, your innovative thinking, and your ability to bring out the best in those around you have shown us that the galaxy is stronger with humanity as a part of it." Zara felt a lump form in her throat, but she swallowed it down. This moment wasn't just about her. It was about the future of human-alien relations. "Thank you, Admiral," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But I didn't do this alone. Every being here played a crucial role in our victory. What we achieved together." She turned to address the assembled crowd, seeing faces of countless species, some familiar, some still strange to her. "When I came to this Academy, I wanted to prove that humans belonged among the stars. But what I'd learned is that it's not about belonging. It's about contributing. Each of us, regardless of our origins, has something unique to offer. And when we come together, when we combine our strengths and support each other in our weaknesses, we become something greater than we could ever be alone." A hush had fallen over the gathering, all eyes fixed on the young human who spoke with such passion and conviction. "The Void Collective thought they could defeat us by adapting faster, by exploiting our differences," Zora continued. "But they didn't understand that our differences are our greatest strength. We don't need to be the same to be united. We just need to be willing to learn from each other, to grow together." As she finished speaking, the silence lingered for a moment. Then, starting slowly but building to a crescendo, applause erupted. It wasn't just clapping. It was the diverse sounds of appreciation from a multitude of species. Crix Tor's rumbling roar, Lyra's melodic trilling, the resonant hum of the Aetheri, all blending into a symphony of unity. In that moment, Zara knew that everything had changed. The barriers that had once existed between species began to crumble. The victory over the Void Collective had shown them all that they were stronger together, that the key to facing the unknown challenges of the universe lay in embracing their diversity. As the celebrations continued, Zara found herself surrounded by her friends, Krixtor, Lyra, Grax, Azira, and many others. They were no longer just classmates or even comrades in arms. They were family, bound by shared experience and mutual respect. "So, Deathworlder," Krixtor rumbled, a glint of humor in his reptilian eyes. "What's next? Saving the entire galaxy?" Zara laughed, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "One step at a time, Krixtor. For now, I think we all have a lot to learn from each other." As they looked out over the Academy, now a symbol of galactic unity and cooperation, Zara felt a sense of limitless possibility. The stars no longer seemed distant or unreachable. They were a promise, a challenge, and an invitation. Humanity had proven its worth, not by dominating or outshining others, but by bringing out the best in everyone. And in doing so, they had helped forge a new future for the entire galaxy. As the twin suns of Nexus Prime set on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold, Zara Chen, human, Deathworlder, and now a symbol of galactic unity, smiled. The adventure was just beginning.